God,
It agreed with you though. That's the important thing.
First off, I just want to introduce Justin Harrington and Gabby Rosa. They are two, people who are coming to observe the committee and possibly come onto the board. One of them will join the board and one of them will be active committee member for one of our committees. So, they are, so just welcome
You're
and.
welcome.
Yes, welcome.
and I hope we don't scare you away. I'll try to get them.
Here, anyway.
That's okay.
You're looking at the better looking side. See, that's the scary side. We're the,
That, you know, we're in trouble, I'd be running.
And before I do the acceptance of the minutes, I would just like to, if I can do this, all of the new members of the board, I would like you to just introduce yourself and say a little bit about why you joined the board and what you hope to contribute to the board. And for instance, you all know I'm Claire Kopic, and when I was asked that, when I started the board, I said, I have no idea what I can contribute to the board. So that's where I was 6 years ago. And now you can see where I'm at now. So you can, if you say, I have no idea what I will contribute to the board, then we will accept that.
And you might be president.
You might be president.
yeah.
Let's start with you, Kathy.
Kathy Solsa, I live here in Rutland City. Love reading, love books. Grew up wherever we lived. The first place my mom would take us is the library. So libraries have always been a place of peace for me. The honest story is that I went to see Jodi Picoult in Concord, New Hampshire, and she was talking about the number of books that she's written that have been banned. And she told us, you would be so surprised how close book banning is to all of our communities. And so she said, go out and, get on your school board, get on your library board. And so I'm already on the school board. So
Check.
check, here I am. And I'm on my second school board term. So after next year, I'll be finished with the school board. And so I just think it would just be lovely to be able to segue to something fun.
Great.
Leonard or Lenny De Lorenzo. I live in Rutland City. I'm still working as a PA, but I'm going to be retiring soon. We've gone to the library for many years. I grew up in New York City, went to the library a lot. And Claire asked me or my wife to help out. So here I am and hope to contribute as a board member.
That's really, yeah, I hope to contribute.
Yeah.
You
Right?
can steal it.
Covers it all. My name is Kevin Klom. I too live in Rutland City. There's a theme here. And I came to the board because Claire called my wife. And my wife had just gotten on the board for the AC and regretfully declined, but said, I've got this old guy in the other room who's looking for something, needs something to do. I'm going to get out of my. So I was going to say I love books. I grew up with books. My library at Bertram Woods. I don't know where Bertram Woods really is, but it's somewhere in Ohio. So what I hope to contribute is an effervescent sense of humor and brilliance. And calm down.
Write that down. I'm kidding.
I am kidding. I hope to contribute.
Ken is an old hat, but if you want to say.
Sure, yeah. I'm usually up on the screen. I'm Ken Watson, Rutland Town. This is the start or end of my second year on the board. So I am normally remote, but was able to swing it tonight to be here in person. So great to meet and see new faces. And I think I'll be contributing to a number of the committees, including the development committee and others to be discussed.
Sure, I'm Matt Lag. This is the beginning of my second term, so for a year. I'm just interested in the public service role. And I was on the school board previously. So I was approached about joining this board after I finished that up, and so here I am.
Doing Pensac.
I was on the school board. Being here.
He suckered me into doing it. And, I was on this board a long time ago and I had to leave because I was, too busy. I'm glad to be back. When my kids were little and I was traveling a lot, I couldn't do it, so it's like my penance too. It'll be fun.
I'm Ann Bannister. I'm the new Mendon person. Jonathan Reynolds is a neighbor. We're a pretty tight neighborhood, and he sent out this email and said, I have too much going on. Are any of you interested? And it came at a really good time for me. I'm an active library user. I'm retired now. I was the school nurse at Rutland High School and coordinated health services for the district. And I remember my first time in this building was probably 6 months before we moved here. And we had our 15-year-old, that would be Leslie, with us. And she needed a place to work on a school project. We were moving her from Pennsylvania. It was a very ugly time in our lives. But it felt really good. And I'm at a time in my life, I mean, I use the library and I have some time. My other commitments as far as boards and such are not too heavy, and I think I enjoy this, and you all have been so welcoming. Thank you.
I'm the new Tinmouth person. My name's Kathy Reynolds and I was on the board 6 years ago and my friend Barry Cohen couldn't recruit anyone. Because he scared them, honestly. So I said I would step in and hopefully when it becomes clear that this is not gonna be a scary board, we can get some new blood for you, but I will hold the seat.
And just so you know, Kathy is the one who recruited me 6 years ago to be on the board. And she called to speak to my husband first, and he declined. And
Oh, is
I
that
got
true?
on- Yes,
I don't
and so
remember.
then I got on the phone, and I was at the point of saying, God, I don't want to do, how do you get on a board? And then fortuitously, she called it out.
So
The rest
what
is
you need to
history.
know is that this thing happens where right, we change in September, at the October meeting, right? And so everyone starts thinking like, oh, I'm at the end of my 6 years. Who am I gonna get from Hendon, Tinmouth, Ira? And you start calling people. So keep your minds open.
I'm Carolyn Mube. I'm starting my second year as a board member, and no, my husband wasn't asked first to go on the board. I grew up in Rutland, and so this library has been important to me, and I didn't realize how important it was until I was sort of at a crossroads in my career. I didn't know what I wanted to do, so I read like What Color Is Your Parachute or something. And it said, go back to the books you read as a child before your parents and your teachers sort of put you on a direction. And my first thought was just sitting on the floor in the children's room, picking out books about Albert Schweitzer and Clara Barton. And because of that question that I asked, it made me start thinking that way. I had a wonderful job for 17 years running an international organization. This library, what it means, I think is so important to Rutland. I also think that libraries are really, along with free press, really you need civic participation. And I just really strongly believe in the role of the libraries compare in the community. And you and I can see who's the funniest one, okay?
I can see it already.
Yeah.
I'm John Skinner. I have no idea how long I've actually been here. 3 years, 4 years?
I think
Did I join when you joined?
This is the beginning of your.
This is the beginning of my 4th year, yeah. Mostly been on the finance committee the time I've been here and participated in other ones as kind of like ad hoc show up and participate when I can. But I worked for Heritage Family Credit Union and the former president before Barry did also, and she recruited me into the board from there, and I've been here ever since and haven't left. Reading is not particularly a passion of mine. I actually enjoy writing more, and reading becomes more of a resource, like to reference and to learn from in that capacity. But I do like audiobooks. I do like the e-media that we bring, which is really nice.
So the other person sitting at our table is Elizabeth Cool. You can introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Elizabeth Kulis. I am not on the board. I live in Rutland Town and I have a consulting business called Kulis Consulting, and I'm working with you all and Randall and the 21st Century Library Committee on the project for a new 21st Century Library, I believe Rutland deserves. And I'll just add that I have a 30-year career in affordable housing and community and economic development facility, and most of which is here in the Rutland.
Thank you, everyone. Now I'm going to ask for an acceptance of the minutes, but I do know that we have to make a little change. Because in the minutes, it was noted that Kathy Reynolds was going to be accepted at this meeting because we needed the 30 days. And it said she was going to be the secretary. She is not going to be the secretary. Going to be the secretary. She's not able to make tonight's meeting. With that correction in the minutes, do I have a motion for someone to accept? Second?
Second?
Could you guys just switch that? Then I wouldn't have to retype it. The other way.
I know.
I'm kidding.
We're gonna do this every meeting. We're gonna.
Okay, good. Then I'll have to change it.
Okay, Joanne, would you like to give finance report?
You want me to do it right now?
Sure.
Okay. Can you put it up there, my friend?
I sure can. You want to start with the summary?
Yeah.
Oh, wait.
We're doing the
I
summary.
guess we have to vote on the, thank you,
On the motion.
Carolyn, on the motion to accept the minutes. All in
Aye.
favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Carolyn. I'll do it this.
You're doing a great job.
This is why we don't want to sit in this,
Got to get here earlier.
yeah. But now you know, the good looking ones are over here and it's sparkling.
Except for here. Don't even.
Take what you got.
Yeah, it comes off actually. So it's,
Very cool.
Can that make the whole screen?
No, because Zoom wants too much of the screen.
make it slightly bigger.
The two things, well, the first thing is I was expecting, Randy, we didn't get the printed audit review report.
We did not get the audit.
So we'll do that next month then.
Yeah, sorry, that's as big as I can get it for you.
You also have it, everything received this in their email.
That's what
I have to look at my screen because I can't see that. The first thing is that we finally received the infamous 13th check, and so that helping with our cash flow a little bit once they figured out what was, that happens every year. We get a 13th check after they do all their reconciliations, the investment companies from the Fox funds. There's not really a lot of surprises this month, in my opinion. It's sort of the same. We've increased our young adult programming. You know that we've spent more on web development than we had originally planned because we asked Randall to make that a priority. There's been, as usual, some unexpected building expenses. This is to be expected, that are to be expected, given the building. I think that the biggest issue that I am going to say every month until stuff starts to happen is we really need to start thinking about our fundraising and development events because we're a little bit behind in that. So I'm hoping that the next time we meet in January, right, that I'll have some good news in terms of whatever the plans are. I don't think there's anything else. If you've all looked at this, do you have any questions? One of my concerns was that, looks like we lost $136,000 in our investments that month. In the month of October, but for the year, we're 127,000 to the good, so that's just part of life fluctuations. Life. So, it doesn't appear to be a trend.
And one tiny clarification, if I may, actually, we came in under budget on the website, but it was a timing issue because we were supposed to have the website done by the end of fiscal year 25. So
Okay.
it's not in the 26, or sorry, the end of fiscal year 24, so it's not in the FY 25 budget.
Yeah.
So we had budgeted 60,000 and we're gonna get it for about 45. So
Okay.
we done good.
So it is good.
Very good.
And I could look at this, but you may be able to calculate it faster. How much of our annual budget is dependent on investments? So we're really at the mercy of the markets.
We're really not
Okay,
that much. It's not, because the investments throw up income, which is different from.
right.
So the gain and loss is also unrealized gains and losses, which means if the value of the stocks, of the investments fluctuate, that's where that ends up
It's
having
the income is
the
about.
issue, but it's not really a realized, it's not
Okay.
like we sold a bunch of stuff and lost money.
Yeah, that-
Yeah.
But our budget, Rick, is dependent on income from,
The income, and the income is,
so if it tanked, that would be a
yeah,
really big problem.
well, if they stopped paying dividends and stuff. It doesn't appear to be the point at the moment.
And you do have a cushion because for many years, the library was just putting money aside. If the stock market was going up and we got a big 13th check, they just stuck it in the bank. They didn't, well, they stuck it in Vanguard because they didn't quite know what to do with it. So we have right around $393,000 in Fox Fund overage that can only be spent on materials and programs. And we are doing our best to spend it down, but I think we are down about $20,000 over last year, despite very aggressively spending on creating materials and programs. So if the stock market has a bad couple or 3 years, we certainly have some reserves to cover it. And honestly, if it's such a bad stretch that we spend all that money down before the stock market recovers, the library budget will be the least of our.
Well, and the other thing to keep in mind is that our actual, our every day-to-day operating expenses, the biggest one being payroll, right? Staff.
Right.
That's the biggest part. That's definitely covered by the income that we get from the towns and the city.
Yes.
That's the thing to keep in mind. I'm sorry. Yeah, Kathy.
Can the overage, the Vanguard account be used for development for events to raise money? That programming?
I would have to really, that would be a very dicey one.
Stretching.
There's a
words.
guidance letter that happened during my previous tenure, from an attorney who went through the whole. The trust was written in like the 40s,
The 1960s.
the 60s.
Yeah.
And so it said, you can spend money on things like overhead projectors. And so at, 6 years ago or more, as a board, we were saying, well, what about ebooks? And ebooks weren't in there. So there is a guidance document that we paid an attorney to go through and sort of technologically update it. I don't think that, I agree with Randall. I don't think that fundraising would be in there. There is a small budget for fundraising. I think that, you heard Joanne say we need to do fundraising. So if a proposal was brought to the board, like we need to spend $20,000 to make 100, I bet we could probably figure out how to make that.
Well, for instance, if we wanted to hire somebody to come in and be entertained, that would be a program and we can pay for programs. So definitely, yes. But to pay for printing flyers and renting, tables and all that fun stuff, that would be a nuanced conversation.
But so say there was a program
Right.
and that was by donation. I mean, it was a library program, whether it was a speaker or an event.
Right.
But we could accept donations.
Well, that's not a block at all. It's, you can only spend it on materials, programs, and a certain small percentage on labor to provide those materials and programs. And to give you some idea of kind of the hair splitting that has gone into it, this laptop is my laptop to use, as an administrator, so we cannot buy it with Fox Fund money. The computerized, catalog terminal downstairs, patrons use to access materials directly, so we can use Fox Fund money on it. So the answer is maybe we could do some of it. But it would be hard to say, let's just spend all of our, let's just cover all the expenses for an event like that from the Fox Fund.
How far has the term materials been stretched?
Oh,
Pretty good.
yes.
So it's stretching, it's rubber.
We do our best to make sure that we are spending Fox Fund money first wherever we can see a way to spend Fox Fund money first. The website being a great example.
Okay,
The last iteration of the website we paid for out of the library grants, but someone at this table, 2-3 years ago said, well, can we spend Fox Fund money on that? And we kind of scratched our heads and said, sure, because it is providing those materials directly. Before everybody came in today, I was listening to Freegal, which is the library provided music service. And I was using, our website to access that directly. So I think that's pretty legitimate. Every once in a while, we you know, can we include shelving? No. Because that's clearly building. So there are always gray areas. There's black and white, but there's a lot of gray, and we do our best to decide that we can spend Nello's bequest fruitfully, wherever possible.
okay.
Can you tell me again what that overage account has in it? You said it very fast.
It'll be on the balance sheet when we get to that, which is our very next slide if we're done this one.
All right, someone can read it to me.
390 something.
Yeah.
I believe it's 393, but we can test and see how my memory from last night's meeting is.
All right, so, well, you're gonna pull up the balance sheet.
I'm working on it. Zoom is never my friend. I hate screen sharing. There we are.
So I'm not doing that. All right, so if you recall from last time, we used to show a balance sheet for this year and last year, and I didn't really find that to be very useful because I'm more interested in the change in cash from the last period until now. Basically, the cash is up because of the 13th check. We also got, Rutland Town made their first payment, which was quite good for our cash flow. Going down, you see that the Fox Fund is down 140,000. I did a little bit of, basically that's because we got the 13th check, but the 13th check went into our checking account from the Fox Fund. And then it was $62,000 transferred. And then there was the $136,000 loss. So that's, I don't know, when I did all of those numbers, it was like $90 off in my mind. So I said, it's fine. Because it was just something I did in my head, So Randall, which account are you saying is
There's the Fox is in two accounts, 1494 Fox restricted under Vanguard, which is currently $121,130. And also account 1755 in the Vermont Community Foundation, which is $275,601. And as an art student, I'm going to say that's $396,731.
400,000?
And last year we were at like 420, so we're down,
Yeah.
not quite, about $25,000. Despite Amanda's best efforts to spend all her money. Good job, Amanda, great work. You are very good at it, and you do a great job in programming, and we appreciate it. Yes, ma'am. So this is Amanda.
I am on this level of mine. I'm the children's library. I do all the. Much. It's so much pronounced Mitch, but you're asking.
Just to write it in and then how they spell it.
M-U-N-T.
Thank you.
I'll lie, I wouldn't say it. Normally how it-
And control shift colon. And then U gets you the umlaut.
I was gonna say, how do on my computer,
So
Or
were
you can just
You
copy
can
paste it for
umlaut
somebody.
on your computer. Sometime.
And when I say successful, last year, last fiscal year, we had more programs and more attendance than in any year in the history of Rutland Free Library. So small that spending, it's really exactly what Nella would have wanted to see done with her money.
So were you behind the Ghost Hunters episode on YouTube?
no, you don't have to talk to Amy about.
Oh, I stumbled across that today. That was really fun. So worth a watch.
There is one thing I kind of forgot about, which I should have, is that the annual appeal has been fairly successful, so just, I wanted to mention that,
Do you have any sense of how many have responded, the percentage of responders?
I don't know about percentage of responders, but
As of this morning, our deposits have been over $9,000.
so the other day it was like over, it was like 5,000, so
Yeah.
that's
Well,
good.
Darby took a few days off, so it was $9,000, but she hadn't got through this stack of checks.
He told me that, yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
that's why I didn't want to.
So there's
say
more
a
to be
number.
deposited?
Oh, yeah.
So that's
So
not,
as of this
so,
morning, she had made over $9,000 deposit and she had a stack this high to go through.
I will say the really good thing, and thanks to everybody that contributed to the effort, is there's a lot fewer envelopes coming back with yellow address not known stickers on them this year than I have seen in many, many years. Because
nice.
usually the first thing I get is 25 or 30 of those, like immediately before we start seeing checks.
Have you ever, has a library ever had like donations, like a sign, like you do on your website for donations that people who come in may want to give, that you sort of find a way to encourage them, maybe have a flyer there so they could pick it up if they wanted to give?
I don't know how many locations in the library we have a flyer. We used to have a donation jar, but it got stolen twice, so we stopped putting it out. But yes, it's a good
They say
idea.
checks or credit card only.
Well, you can do.
They
a
were
QR
donating.
code.
Yeah.
You can do a QR code so that someone can just scan it with their phone and donate that way.
That's a very good idea. Yeah, yeah. And just one of the issues we have is there's so much, there's so many things that we seem to want to tell people about, that there's real sensory overload at the desks. In a perfect world, we would have no more than 5 signs at the desk. And the last time I did a survey, it's not this bad right now, but the last time I did a survey was about 5 years ago, and there were 43. We've taken a lot of those down, but there was 43 signs that we expected people to process the information at the cert desk. So, but it's a good reminder, and yes, we'll get some of the donation envelopes up.
Where you.
Yeah, by all means. Yeah.
So.
And I have had several very positive comments from folks who got handwritten notes, and they really appreciated it. So it did make a difference.
There's a nice button on the website that
I was
says
about to
donate
say,
now.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a button on the website.
Right.
And the new website, of course, will have that.
Well, in a better place on the mobile version too, because right now, as was pointed out, it is the very last thing you get to scrolling through our
It's
site.
in between the kids zone and something else, so it'd be hard to find.
Yeah,
And you would lose patience and donate your money somewhere else.
yes, we will fix
December
that. The new
31st at
website.
11:59.
One other thing I would like to bring up under the financial is that Joanne is gonna work on drawing up an RFP for accounting services.
Yes, yeah.
So just be aware that she'll be presenting that probably at our next meeting, just so for us to approve the RFP go out, or maybe just at our finance meeting, we'll approve it.
Yeah.
Just,
We just want to put out an RFP, see what, we spend a lot of money on accounting services and, also do a compilation instead of a review. I think, I don't see the value add of the review, given, there's really never not been any adjustments this year at all, and last year one. That seems like a lot of money to pay. I'm a CPA too, so I understand, you know, which means couldn't pass again, I realize that. But, nonetheless, I just think it's a lot of money, and with the increase in health insurance, it doesn't seem, and Darby is very, very, good at what she does. So I'd rather see us spend the money, in other places. And if we ever decide that we need help in accounting and we want something looked at, we can always do like agreed upon procedures or something like that. And, in the, event that we do need an audit, that'd be a beautiful thing, because that means we got a huge grant. But since our bylaws say is, it says, a compilation, and of course, the 990, and then the 5,500, I think it is. That's all we need them
The
to.
bylaws don't require. They're-
No, so I'd rather just follow that for now, and I think, we have a pretty strong finance committee right now, so I think we can, and Darby is doing great.
So do I have a motion to approve the financial report?
Moved.
Second.
Okay,
I
All in
split up
favor?
that team, sorry.
I was waiting for one.
To approve.
Oh,
No, there was no decisions made.
okay.
Hmm.
Take
More
that
for me
back.
to type.
Okay, I want to move on to the committee reports. Did everyone look at the committee assignments, and are they okay with where they were put? And, I'm not going to discuss it further. If you have questions or issues or things that you want to talk to me about, please bring it to me or, anyone on the executive committee. That would be great. I want to talk first about personnel committee. I'm guessing, Matt, that you probably did not meet.
No, we
Right.
don't have these.
But- What we do need to bring up is that the union has sent out their request for to initiate the collective bargaining negotiations. Everyone has a copy of that letter. So Randall is working with Darby to get all of the information to them. And they're saying that we need to have that, or they would like to have the information there by December 6th, so to get some dates in December. We are not sure if we can meet that since it is December and holiday season, so we will do the best that we can. Sarah Marshak, who was on our board and really helped us a lot, the last time we did negotiations, has offered to continue to be at the meeting. So she's not a board member, but she's going to be working with the personnel committee. We do need to make sure we have somebody to lead this, and Matt, I'm hoping that you will be the head of the personnel committee, but we also need a negotiator. And I don't know how we need to go about that process, but I think the personnel committee should meet and figure that out, because we either need like a labor lawyer. Last time we had Jeff Wenberg. He sort of led the negotiations, worked out with the idea. I don't know if anyone has ideas or what we should do, or how we should approach that. Thoughts? Do we just meet as a personnel committee and get that here? Is the board agreeable to that? Does anyone here on the board have experience?
Well, can I ask,
Yep.
looking at this in the your larger, document of committees, what are the committees that are going to have a standing meeting? And I think that we should, go through and there's some, like the policy committee, as an example, meets every month. There is work to do every month. Personnel committee hasn't met in a long time. because
Right.
it was just been
So-
nothing.
When I sent out the committee members and duties, the standing committees are the executive committee meets every month, the finance committee meets every month. The, policy and planning committee would be the other one that meets every month.
Yeah.
The other committees are as needed, as, you know, so like personnel, we figured it will be a lot of meetings through union negotiations, and then it's really as things happen. The development, marketing and development, at this point, haven't not been meeting on a monthly basis, but you know, clearly we need to do something with that, and so we're gonna have to start making that, you know, maybe it will be every month, or it'll be, you know, twice a month if we're planning something big. And so I think that that one is also gonna be sort of a flexible, how often we meet. Unless people decide not to. And then the, board development, governance committee. Again, that one is going to be initially, we're going to need to set that up and figure out what that requires. That meeting, those meetings will be as often as the committee decides, and then it will be a process of, you know, how often we need to renew and re-meet, et cetera. And then the 21st Century Library Committee, that one does meet the fourth Thursday of the week.
Can I make a plug because I think that's a problem that we ran into.
Mhm.
Well, so the personnel committee, we were trying to meet, I think we had set up a meeting time, or whatever, I don't know what the calendar is, still in my calendar, comes up every month. Meeting, personnel committee, we never meet. There's a standing meeting time, because I think that's good practice, and but there's never any business. Seems to me that the development committee is a problem area.
Right.
And it's actually one that should have a standing meeting time, because I think what happened is it didn't have a standing meeting time, and so it wasn't meeting to actually do business that needs to be, that is urgent business that does need to be done continually, kind of like the policy committee
Right.
does work.
And so I did write on this little sheet that I sent out, that meeting time is to be determined by the committee. And I am hoping that I do need someone who will take, you know, become the chair of that committee. And we can have a chair and a co-chair, we could have two people, and then the committee needs to meet and decide how often they need to be meeting.
Yeah.
And then we can put that in our document to say they're going to meet the third Tuesday of every month or whatever. So, yes,
Do
Joanne,
you appoint the chairs?
I have not done that, and only because I don't know.
So I just didn't know what the protocol was, just because, you know,
Right,
might be a good thing.
okay,
You know, talk to the people
Right,
first,
right,
or have,
okay. I think that we really have a chair for every committee except the marketing and development committee. So anyone who is on that committee, if you would want to talk to me about being chair, or I will talk to you about being chair. You know, or if we can get two people to co-chair, that might be more acceptable. But yes, definitely we do need to have somebody that's gonna take the lead.
Right, who's gonna
Marketing
lead the
development
committee, so that
Mhm.
have somebody to do that.
And right, the people that are on it are Ken, Kathy Salter, and Kevin, Lenny, and Joanne. So any
Now,
of you want to?
Jennifer Bagley
Yep.
is identified there as well.
Yes, she is she is a past board member, and she said that she would be willing to help.
So
us.
she's not here, right?
Correct.
So let's elect her.
you don't, she is wonderful, and we are lucky to have her.
Right.
But let's not,
That wasn't entirely serious, only sort of serious.
It has been standard practice for our largest events such as tables of content and Murder by the Book to draft in community members who are interested. Jennifer, for instance, Maureen White, who's currently on our building committee, just a lot of folks have stepped up from the community and said, I would like to help you put this event on. So just because it is under the umbrella of the development committee doesn't mean all of it has to be done by the development committee. One of the early steps is recruiting members of the public like Jennifer who can help us and who bring, in her case, you know, a lot of experience at putting on big events. It was her former cast members that were our cast for Murder by the Book. Some serious hands.
Yeah, they were there.
we
got-
were, okay, sorry. We need to go back to where we stopped, which is the board needs a negotiator to represent. And we,
Yeah, so, yeah, I wanted to, couch that into a broader conversation than about like meetings, because what I'll do is I'll just, call together a meeting of the personnel committee, so that we can kind of discuss with Randall what we need, what steps we need to take to go forward, and then we can certainly discuss that issue.
The other item of business that I would like to hear from the board on tonight is, are there any concerns about releasing the information as requested by AFSCME? I have no concerns about it. Previous times, they had a list about 3 kinds of things, and as a library, we had real concern about some of the, like, we're not gonna hand you private email addresses. If you want private email addresses, you should ask your own membership for that kind of thing. But I'm very comfortable handing over all this information. I don't have any questions or concerns. But as the contract is an agreement between the board and the union, and I'm only the administrator, I want to make sure that the board is comfortable with what I'm doing on its behalf.
There's not any HIPAA issues with, the health insurance for employees, spouse, family, 25-year-old children,
Yeah, I don't
no.
think that will be a concern at all for,
Information.
and we can, if there are concerns, we can certainly anonymize it so they know, they don't need to know that this person has this insurance. They need to know that we have this many people that have family and this many people that
And
have,
we don't self-insure anything, so.
right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, we can certainly anonymize it in an organization this size. There are no secrets about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So like I said, I'm really comfortable with it, but if there are parts that the board isn't comfortable with, then we can have that conversation.
Well, the same for number 13, maybe redacted with not to
Yes.
include names.
Yes, that already came up in conversations today. We will not be identifying people who we are concerned about doing non-criminal activities because they've never been prosecuted for any of this stuff, with one exception. So we will not be naming those folks. We'll give the form out without the name of the individual. Yes.
So are people comfortable with Randall providing that information?
Has that been our standard procedure in the past?
Like I say, it's much less invasive than it's been in the past. Yes.
Say that again, Randall, I didn't hear it. It's what,
Less invasive.
Invasive.
this is a lighter load
Oh, yeah.
than the past loads.
The last time, I think there was probably 35 fields they wanted information on. So this is much,
This is sweeter.
it's a great improvement, and thank you to the union for that. You folks had input directly. But it's a.
Dr. Chair, nice to meet you. Amanda is one of the.
You will be sitting across the table. I'm basically a normal room file.
Don't listen to her, she plays hardball.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Does this need to be a motion?
no, it's really good. It's a great start. It's a great start. Thank you.
So do we need a motion to approve?
If we need a motion, I move.
Okay. Anyone want a second?
Giving these.
Yeah.
I'll second it.
Okay. All right, then. All in favor of Randall providing the information that the union has requested, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Requested in his
Thank
letter.
Yeah, in this letter, right.
You may want to make that amendment or add that.
So then I did talk about development, what we've already done as far as how much we've received so far. This is a development committee, as we all know, and we've tried to stress many, many times, we do need to work on a big event that we would like to have in the spring or early summer. So I really want this committee to step up and get some ideas going, putting that out there. I will talk to some people about being chair or whatever. Did policy, anything from policy?
No, we ended up not meeting, Joe's there, but I don't know if he has anything the co-chair, but,
No, we
We didn't meet
we
because of
didn't
Veterans
meet.
Day.
It was
Okay.
just- Yeah.
So
We
we're
wanted
back to
respect,
Kathy's labor negotiator.
Sorry, Joe, what was that?
I was just echoing what Matt was saying. It was Veterans Day, and but that's great, buddy. And between all of schedules and with Amy's schedule, we decided that it wasn't in our best interest to meet at the time.
Thank you.
And then, so what were you saying?
What I was trying to say is Kathy at one point stopped us and said, wait a minute, we haven't finished answering the pending question about a labor negotiator.
Except that I thought we said we were going to have the personnel committee meet.
Do it in there.
And
Do it in there, okay.
Okay, but thank you for bringing that. Okay, we did have an executive, committee meeting. There's a couple of big things that we talked about. One is that, we really need to do a strategic planning. It hasn't been done since 2015. If you look on our website, you can see what our current strategic plan is from 2015. It's dated 2016 to 2018. We're gonna include board members, staff, friends of the library, not the entire friends, but we're gonna have some reps from them. We're looking at, writing an RFP. What I do need from this committee is permission to write up an RFP so that we can, and get approval to pay for us to do strategic planning. And I'm also looking to see if anyone would like to be a lead on this process. And if anyone knows anyone who can lead us in a strategic planning, we've gotten a couple of names, but we'd like to be able to at least send it out to maybe 3 or 4 people to get. So what I'm asking for tonight is that the board approves that we will pursue a strategic planning process and the financials that it will take. I don't know how much that could cost, so does anyone have any idea? I've heard thousands, so.
Yeah, do we have the money to pay for that? I mean,
Well, there are grants out there that are community grants, but none of them are open at this point. If we waited until spring, like April or May, we probably could apply for them. I personally do not want us to wait that long because I really feel like we need to get to, because with the whole 21st century library piece, we need to get a better mission statement, our value statement, those kinds of things. We also have thought about asking the Friends finance it, and especially if they were able to participate, because there have been a couple of Friends that were like, what are you guys doing about this? So they are aware of it being a process that needs to happen, and they do have some money, so.
About 18,000, I think.
So,
They're doing really well.
I think it's smart to engage them whenever we can.
yeah,
They really do a lot for the community. They're another visible element.
yeah, and I think they're very interested in, the plans and the goals of the library, so.
And should have some input in it.
Yep. So would the board approve us pursuing this process? And knowing that this will probably, at least their initial meeting will probably be like a Thursday evening from 4 till 8. So, because we're gonna have to have the library be closed, and we're gonna get this, because we want the staff involved and we want all of us involved, and I really, really, really want full participation. A good strategic planner is going to get all of us to talk and speak and figure out, but we would also have to meet with that person to sort of.
So
It is a process.
the first step in that process, as you just envisioned it, would be the retaining of that strategic plan.
Correct.
So what you want is approval from, do you want approval from the board to commence the process of strategic planning, starting with retaining a professional planner.
Yes.
So moved.
One question, I think you asked if you could go out to bid and you moved that we hire one. Does the committee have, who's gonna decide? If we
That's
get
what
three
that's why I
proposals?
was confused
Yeah.
as well. Who's gonna do this work? Is it
You
the
need a
executive committee?
I think you need a committee.
You need a committee.
Another one.
Yeah, executive committee, I think, can do that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I do think it'd be great to
Yeah.
have
we
a
need it.
lead.
And that we all, the executive committee should do it, I believe. We also need to have a little firmer idea of what it's gonna cost.
Right,
Right.
but that's, the motion was to commence. With the first step is to retain, but the first prior step is to find out how much that costs.
Which Kathy?
So I just pulled up, on libraries.vermont.gov, there's a whole strategic planning and advocacy page, and there's, Kevin
Yeah.
Unrath, who's a consultant, and there's, looks like there's a lot of resources.
Yeah, and I've been given his name and aware of that.
So maybe he could, because, I mean, just from, what limited experience I've had with strategic planning, you can get it for thousands, you can get it for tens of thousands, like it just, it's the thing is to find someone you like to work with
Yep.
and then hopefully have the budget.
Yeah, and that was, I did talk with the strategic planner, and her comments to me were, the first thing we'll do is sit down. You would sit down with this person before you hire them and find out, so they know what you're looking for.
Mhm.
And so that I believe, and I don't know. Being very honest with you.
I think
You know,
you have,
the request for proposal, the RFP will include that, you know, picture of what we know. I just took 2 books out of the library today on strategic planning because I'm like going, this is all good to me, so, that's why I'm like, if somebody wants to like lead this project as opposed to me trying to do it, that would be very much appreciated because
Maybe, and I don't want this comment necessarily to supersede the motion that's on the floor, but maybe what we want to do is the first thing to do is once the board approves that we need to do a strategic plan. Once we get that approved, then before anything else really gets done, is to approach the Friends to see if they would fund it. So they're in on it from the beginning, to know that you want to do it, as opposed to saying, oh, well, we've hired somebody, you know. we
not
need
you
to
want
know.
to pay for it.
Right.
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, I tried to make the motion sufficiently vague
Yeah,
and rubberish so that it could stretch to where you need to take it. So, yeah, all of this makes sense.
Yep.
But somebody's got to lead it.
Right.
And it's either a committee or somebody volunteering to act on that committee. And it sounds like we need to retain the strategic planner first. I mean,
I
I'm
can
not,
volunteer to write an RFP for the board to approve. I'm already doing one from the accounting services. You guys can take a look at it. I'll bring it to the next executive committee and we'll see what
What
we
is
can
an
do.
RFP?
Not that hard. Request for proposal.
Oh, okay, thank you.
The
so,
trick is, what are you gonna put in it?
Well, this is what I will do some digging. I've done this before, but
Joanne is on the executive.
yeah.
Yeah,
It's stepping forward.
I think just put it in the executive committee for now,
Yeah,
and then just see where it goes. It's kind of early, just.
yeah.
I'm just gonna offer some suggestions. One is the selection of who you work with can be handled through the executive committee, but then you might choose to have another committee that's your point committee with other people on it for the actual
Yeah.
strategic planning work. And that's something you can think about going forward.
Yeah, that's a separate issue though.
Yeah. Also, you have no idea what the budget is because you have no idea what you're looking for and what the proposal proposals are gonna look like. So I would separate you can do the RFP without authorizing the fund to actually pay for it. In the meantime, you can be having conversations. And I wasn't paid, but I've done it. The advantage of a strategic plan recently, the advantage of having committee is so your consultant isn't necessarily doing everything, like doing stakeholder surveys or conversations, and that may be something that the committee could do in conjunction, that the facilitator, the consultant will guide, but isn't ending up doing all the work. So I think there's ways to see how that's been done.
Okay. So the bottom line is that Kevin, did you get down what Kevin wrote? It says,
No, and it wasn't seconded, so,
right.
you can tell me again and I'll write exactly what you guys want. The front.
I mean, I'm wondering if it shouldn't be tabled.
Do we
But,
need a motion
well, that's what I'm just,
for this?
I think Carolyn's idea was good. We could make a motion that as a board, we agree that we're gonna move forward with a strategic plan, period. We
Yeah.
approve that, and then we can go out to bid for it, and then the board can approve the budget
Okay,
once it's
yeah, so I
figured out
guess
who it's gonna be.
we're approved that we're gonna write what you said, but that's it. No money yet or
Right,
anything else.
right.
So, yeah.
Okay, that sounds,
investigate the process of retaining a strategic planner.
And create an RFP.
I
So
move
how are
that
you
the
gonna
Rutland
decide who
Library
it goes to?
Embark on a strategic
I
planning
know what you're
process
talking about. I'll do it and I'll show it to you.
With the executive committee guiding the process at this point.
like that.
Yeah,
Are you okay with that?
Oh, yeah. I don't care who owns it, just get it right. Yeah, I second it.
okay, all in favor?
Everybody understands.
Yeah.
You just inherited all our children, you know.
Yeah.
You're a vibrant.
So the next big issue that I want to talk about is our 21st century library issue. I think when I talked with a lot of our new board members, I sort of gave a history of some of this, but you can look on Randall has shared a lot of information about the history and.
Yes, and it is on the Rutland Free Library website under, it's been a while since I looked at it.
I know, I
Let me
looked at
make
it
sure I get the
today.
title right. Under the browse, as the Civic Center project. So, that is available on our website. Oh, library.org.
Right, so, you know, we really need to act on this, at least get something. We're meeting, the committee is meeting tomorrow, the 21st Century Library Committee is meeting tomorrow. And one of the things that they have asked at the last 2 or 3 meetings is, where is the board on this? Where is the board on this? What is the board thinking along these lines? And so I thought I really would like to get a commitment from the board to pursue looking, hiring an architect. Because to do, this, whatever we need, what the architect does, his work, his or her work, for the Asa Bloomer building. We've all seen this building and, we know that there's a lot of love in the community for it. And like today, the Community Engagement Committee met and one of our biggest things is that, the patrons all have a real sentimental attachment to this building. So we need to get the information out there on what is a 21st century library, help them understand what the needs are, define what it is, and visualize what that can look like. So that we can, get the Rutland community behind this whole process. To do this, we do need to hire an architect to do that piece. So, we do need the board approval to look at that. Elizabeth has worked on developing and, where is that? the architect selection process. Yeah, everybody got a copy.
Those people, but
Oh, yeah. Um. So. Elizabeth, I'm gonna turn the floor over to you because you can speak to this better because you've done this process before and I have not, so.
Because there's a subcommittee of the 21st Century Building Committee that focuses just on the building and design pieces. And that committee a few months ago met and put together this process and is proposing this process to you all for the selection of an architect, a design team to work with it and you on the first steps, which would be conceptual and schematic drawings, with the, cost estimate also to come along with that, so that we can fine tune a budget, identify funding, the funding stack for it and hopefully ultimately make it happen. So the process so we're bringing this process to you all as a suggestion, which is the first step in the process, asking you to consider and approve this process. You can certainly modify it if you'd like, but they would be advertising a request for proposal, with a project description, criteria, requested content, and, assuming a 3-week timeline turnaround. During that time, the building committee would have a site visit for interested architectural firms. Proposals would come in electronically to Randall. All proposals that had been received by the published deadline would then be distributed to the building committee, the executive committee of the board, and any other board members who are interested in seeing them, as well as city partners, because the library will be taking the lead on the Asa Bloomer project, but the city hall is a component of the civic center. So, I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that. Hang on. For those who receive proposals, we're asking that people, take a week to review them and submit questions, concerns, and comments to an interview committee that would be made up of 3 to 4 representatives of the building committee, board, and the city partner representatives. So we're thinking the interview committee would be 3 to 4 people, along with Randall, of course. And that candidates, the most qualified candidates would be interviewed by that committee with a recommendation being made back to you all, for a final decision and selection. Back to the very beginning. Just to remind you that the project is a partnership with the city of Rutland. So between the city of Rutland and the Rutland Free Library. And this is together, the two entities are exploring a conversion of the Asa Bloomer building into a Rutland Civic Center to house city hall services, the library, as well as the office. So the two working together have agreed that the library would take the lead on the architect selection and the renovation project, and that the city would be the potential building owner and would be participating and remaining informed and engaged in the.
Are we the lead on only the architect?
No, on the architect selection and the whole renovation.
The entire rest of the process? But that would include any and all needs of the city for their portion of.
Correct. The reality is that their needs are much fewer than the libraries. Specifically, they need office space and they need structural support for the vault. That's about it. The library's needs are much greater in terms of having an effective program plan and design. If the library is on the first floor, how does that integrate with the other needs of the first floor? As well as, regardless of which floor, the structural components necessary, the structural improvements necessary for the book load, the weight of the book.
Okay. Who bears, is there an apportionment of cost between the city and the library for this process?
That's a very good question that has not come up yet.
Seem to be.
Not yet. We did go to to get $2.5 million in federal funds. And the city said, yes, you can have $18,000 in planning costs, but only if you get a grant. We did not get a grant, so we have spent all of that 18 and another 6 besides. And we have about, I'd have to look at the account, about $1.5 million that we have saved up over many, many, many years for our capital needs, and we would just plan on drawing that down. Plus, as soon as we can identify what we want to spend the money on, writing grants, and finding. So that is primarily ours. We did have a conversation with the city, on the engineering piece. It's already done. Because their needs were so small, we just asked the engineer to go ahead and do it, and it was a matter of probably a few $100s. We looked at that as an investment, in a partnership with the city, and also, hopefully a small inducement to have them put that $18,000 back into our hands, and maybe a little bit more. So we would hope that they would work with us in a collaborative fashion. To date, we do not have a split of costs in any way, shape, or form.
Do we have a commitment to collaborative working relations?
We do. We do. With the mayor, but not so much with the Board of Aldermen. It's still in committee with the Board of Aldermen.
That being an essential piece to have in place, the board's commitment to mirror the mayor's desire for collaborative relationship.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see it go forward unless we do get a partnership with the city. There's too many pieces. So we're kind of doing 2 or 3 things at a time. One of the reasons for doing this step is we've already done this step at 10 Court Street. I have a half a dozen architect sketches rolled up on my desk, from the latest round, and one from the round before that, and one from the round before that. So we've done this work here in this building, and we really can't do a good apples to apples comparison for Merchants Row until we do this step. And also, right now, really our only argument why people should strongly consider the move is because we can do it for about half as much money. So it's very much a budget argument, which I think reaches some people. But when we do this step, if we do this step, then we can also start talking about, look at the beautiful facility that we would be able to provide to the citizens. Look at how it would work. Look at the benefits that we bring. And so really that's why we should be looking at moving forward with this step now, instead of making sure that the city has dotted all its i's and crossed all its t's.
But we can't move in there without the city.
What's that?
We can't do it without the city.
Well, theoretically, we can. Theoretically we can, but I mean, the big hurdle is there are 14 buildings like this, 12 or 14 buildings like this around the state. I believe it's 1 per county that the state is trying desperately to reduce its footprint in. And, so if they can sell it to the city of Rutland, then that's a pretty easy case to make. If they sell it to Rutland Free Library for $1 and, give us $750,000 in renovations before we move in, that's a much harder case to make because there's 180 other libraries that would like that same deal. Thank you very much. Or some variation of it. So the city piece really is they take ownership, they take the risk, they have to maintain it, and we become a tenant.
That was from the
Right.
entire 3 months on the board.
Right.
That was my sort of vague understanding.
That is exactly where we are.
And so it would seem to me that if the city is the key player, in the sense of that they would assume ownership of the building.
Right.
And we would become the tenant.
Right.
Then knowing where the board of aldermen sit to the city's commitment is important to get before we start spending money. I mean, that would seem to me to be a key foundational piece. But I've only been here for 3 months, so.
I mean, the city is making progress. Their piece has been doing the groundwork with the state so that the state is ready to sell us the building. That's getting goodwill with the administration, the Department of Building and Grounds, and also lining up, legislative support because, the state by law cannot just sell a building unless the legislature, for less than
For what
true
we can
value
afford.
without the legislature passing a law that says you can do this. So that's what the mayor has been working on, is getting the political piece lined up, and we've been going ahead with the planning piece. And at some point, those two streams are gonna have to meet. I don't know if we wanna go ahead and do I think you raised a good question. Good point.
Can I ask a clarifying question?
No,
Um, thank you for that.
of course you can.
What is it that you all need from the Aldermanic Board? What's the ask that we need to make sure we make and get an answer on from the Aldermanic? Because I think you're onto something. You're absolutely onto something, but we've been very much in a chicken and egg thing first. And this is a new angle.
I mean, it's, again, I'm a neophyte, so I should be quiet. But just listening to this suggests that there are two axes of power in the city, and one is the mayor and one is the board. And they're not always integrated and can be oppositional. So if the board wants to put the wood to the mayor, I don't want to get caught in the middle of that, having spent, I assume, a substantial amount retaining an architectural firm to draw plans that we don't have the unified support of the city for, in order, when the city is an essential and key component to the move, to the creation of the new vision, to the civic center.
So you're suggesting that the Board of Aldermen should be asked to agree to specifically
Yeah,
whatever Matt says.
I don't know how you go about asking. I don't know if you should do, but I've been curious for how much of this is still in committee. That for me is the whole thing with this. This doesn't move forward unless the city decides we're buying that building for $1, all that stuff.
we
We're
or
not-
they, I'm sorry,
Was it?
The city.
The city. We're not buying that building.
that's what I assumed.
I don't see that.
I don't see it happening.
No.
Theoretically, it could, and I've had a couple of very smart people explain to me that they can figure out a way to make it work. But I'd rather proceed with the idea that the
Yeah.
city's buying.
So if I was gonna really true question, but I don't know if this can be asked, is what are you waiting for? Are you truly doing all this due diligence? Or is this politics? And there's politics involved in this. To me, I don't, I'll keep the specifics of the politics that I perceive to myself, but that's my big, I don't know if you could even ask that question to them, but look, are we waiting
So I think
for politics to play out?
so my perception, and you may know differently, but my perception is that it's in committee because an ask hasn't been made for them to make a decision on and actually put it out, because they are in this due diligent place. And there's been a lot of discussion about having community conversation, like we've got a plan to be having community conversations, here at City Hall and so on. But there has been conversation at the committee level, but this is why I'm getting at, like, what is the library's ask of the board that they can then actually sink their teeth into answering the question to move forward? The problem is that there's more questions than there are answers for you all, for them, and so on, and I'm
Why
not
don't we
sure.
ask them if we should move forward with this? What's their opinion? Should we?
Right,
I mean, that would be, they don't have to make a commitment because we're all in the same place. This is the
Right.
city of Rutland and it's the same, It's for the,
Yeah,
we're all looking.
but the city has deeded us first steps,
Yes, so, but we could
which
ask
is
them.
first costs.
Yeah, but we
Right.
could ask them, should we proceed with this? You know, are you taking this seriously enough for us to further investigate it? And they could answer that question as a committee.
Well, I just need a clarifier on, so you said that, when you said they're waiting for someone to ask them. I'm trying to rephrase how you said that. Are you talking about the committee?
So
Who are they are they waiting for the mayor? Like,
I think we're overthinking this a little bit. The chair of the committee just ran a very strenuous campaign, failing, but a very strenuous campaign for the State House. And every politician in the city, in the county, was busy until November 6th, like really busy.
Yeah.
So they were really happy to just let it sit in committee. I don't, Anna Taddeo is the chair of the committee. She is very sympathetic to us. The board as a whole is sympathetic to us. And I think we would get a very fair hearing if we went to them and said, here's the one thing we really need. We need a commitment, even if it's in principle. We need the city of Rutland to say, yes, we're really serious about this. We're not playing games. And if you do that, we'll go out and hire an architect.
oh, but that's what I mean. I don't care. I don't care that they're sympathetic to us. What I want to know is, do they want to move City Hall? And that's my issue that's been going on right now. This has been going on now for like, it seems like 6 months. With this discussion about like, look, the state has come and offered you, hey, we'll basically sell you this building for $1. And my understanding from whatever it is, it's a done deal. The state wants to unload it. It's in the best interest of everybody. They want to do it. My question is, and this is where it seems like nothing is happening. And that's my question. Is it true due diligence? Or are you waiting? I'm just gonna be really blunt about politics. I don't even care. I'm just gonna come straight out and say, I think there's a person running. I think the mayor wants to be reelected. I imagine he's planning on running, and I think there's a person who's running. And I think that person is running with an axe to grind against the mayor. And it's not, I wouldn't put it past that this is a mayor's idea, this project. The mayor has really thought this through, and I'm not doing anything that the mayor wanted to do if I win. And the board of aldermen waiting to see how the politics play out. That's why I said, I don't know if we can go to them and ask those questions. Those are some pretty sensitive questions. But it just seems to me like, make a decision. Do you want to move City Hall there or not? How much due diligence do we really need at this point on what the situation is?
my understanding of, I attended the meeting when this was referred to committee, when it was first brought forward to the alderman. And there was an immediate decision to place it into committee so that there was a process, a place for conversation to occur. And I don't think that the committee has had numerous conversations about it. And I don't know the degree to which that the mayor has gone back and had additional conversation with the committee. So I don't think it's so much that there's an intention behind any delay of time, as much as it has been really us working with the mayor to try and get all the ducks in a row so that there's something to go back to the committee with and talk with them about. And this was a piece of that.
Yeah.
We don't have enough to talk with the voters about, with the city about, because we don't know. We have budgets, we have guesstimates, but we don't have an informed, numbers at this time for the initiative. So we think it's gonna cost half what it costs here. We don't have anything to refer to.
Is there an idea that the city doesn't want to go in there with, to me, the whole thing of this is that it's a good deal for City Hall to move the City Hall, all their deal into that building. But is the story that they don't want to do that without, like, we would be the anchor? And so are they not willing to do that unless there's an anchor in there? Like, is
I
that?
think that the nostalgia conversation that occurs with this building is also similar to that. And the community and the board of the library have been having the conversation for 20 years. The community has not been having the conversation about City Hall. Because it hasn't come up. And if there's not, I don't see that there's been I don't think any of us have seen that there's been a formal like PR effort that happened yet regarding that. So I think you're pointing out all of the gaps, the challenges that are, that you're up against. And what I'm trying to figure out is what is the ask that can move forward and get some clarity on it from,
What kind of security do we need from the board
right?
for us to start spending money with the architectural plans?
Because I think they need the plan
That's what I'm
to make their decision too, which
I
is
think
part
that
of the
that's a
issue.
piece of it, but I do think that, there is a.
So I did speak with Anna, maybe, was the week before the election. On near Halloween, and, she said, okay, I will call a committee meeting and blah, blah, blah. Now, I haven't followed up with her to see where that's at. I can easily do that.
I mean,
But we want to be clear that we have an ask,
Right.
because what we don't want is for them to not have an ask and then go into committee and have more discussion that's not targeted.
right.
Okay.
Well, can we ask them, should we proceed, that we're about to spend money on architect and do an RFP, and should we proceed? Because we're getting that information for them too. And because it's a commitment of.
Are they willing to commit
Yeah,
to be,
to the.
to be part of that process and engage in that process? I'm trying to think of how to say it.
Well, I think we're pretty serious. How serious are you? That's
Well,
what
but
I'm
So I don't think we're gonna get a straight answer.
Yeah,
We can't,
that's where we are.
politics. We have to ask them, should we,
Are
are you
you-
committed
can we
enough for us to
jointly
proceed?
Go forward with
Yeah.
us. Right, I don't want to say fronting the cost, but that's what it
But
amounts
yeah,
to.
that
Yeah,
but we don't want to, we don't even have to say that. Is
That's right.
it
Are we,
wise for us? Should we proceed with this?
should we both?
Because if they say
Yeah,
this
it's a
is
good
not a
bet.
priority for us, then we shouldn't.
I think, are you prepared to invest in this with us?
One
Yeah.
of the suggestions that has come forward is that we should go back to the Board of Aldermen and ask for the 18,000 that they had a condition on, that we weren't able to meet. Because I think we have shown that we are a good faith partner, and that, we have put our effort into because they've already spent the money once, it might be easier to get it a second time. And say, we're ready. How far would 18,000 go towards getting rough architectural plan?
The other part of that,
Way down so if we get that 18,000 back, then we're maybe another 6,000 in to the cost of getting these plans done.
Even if they paid half, we partnered. Maybe we should table this. And then if you have enough information and see what the city says, you can go to the powers that be at City Hall to say, the board is reluctant to spend any money because we don't know if you're invested in this like we are.
and
Is that
Elizabeth is
something
trying to,
Elizabeth should do or we should do? We are the board.
Right.
Is that something that we,
It's probably something we
Randall,
should do.
yes.
Yeah. And I'm happy to do that.
It's just, that's
Yeah.
Absolutely.
yeah, I think
Absolutely. No, and Randall. I
Yeah.
mean, Randall
We
is
should
the
ask Randall
center
to
of the
do this.
conversation.
the other part of this is that, Matt's point is, look, we may have a different mayor. If we have the board committed by vote, by public commitment to going forward, that's a huge stable piece in the uncertainty of who ends up in the mayor's,
Right.
would
because-
seem to me.
Yeah, because the decision is the board of Alderman, not the mayor.
Right, well, I wasn't quite sure how it was all arranged,
It
but
comes from the board, not from the
But
mayor.
that all could change in March.
Yeah, good afternoon.
But that's why we want that decision.
But the one thing we don't want is the crazy stuff that goes on where they went behind the backs and they did, even though we haven't, we've spoken, we've done all this, that we have this public acknowledgement rather than,
Right.
they're still gonna
We
say
need to be
stuff
on
like
firmer
that.
ground.
The other thing is that, if the message, Randall takes the message to the committee, the board is reluctant to spend any additional money, we're at a standstill with our due diligence for the entire project. Are you invested in this joint project of creating a civic center in downtown Rutland to house both City Hall and us. And if they say no, then the question can be, what do you need for more, or we're not prepared to say that yet. What do you need? What do you need to be able to make that decision? What do you need to be able to make a recommendation to the board? Because that's something that, I'm not sure is known. If there is something out there that they need.
Yeah.
It'll help.
I just don't know, you probably have a general, I imagine you have a general sense, how much does like a architectural design cost? We've done it here already, right? Like if you hire, you just go and hire an architect. how much-
Maybe 25,000.
Yeah, I'm just gonna guess.
I mean, and that's, I don't know, Joey, what that is in the broader sense of our finances, but like,
It's a lot of money.
it's a lot, right? Like, so.
I mean,
Well, it's also important to get their commitment.
The point,
That's like, and I would use the word commitment as opposed to
Yeah.
investment,
commitment, yeah.
because that means something bigger and better and brighter and shinier. Are you committed to it? And if you are, we'll go forward.
Because
So
we're
we need to add
investigating.
that board committee, if we can join them, come to their next meeting to present all of this to that committee, because then that committee will bring it back to the. If they,
Then we need to do it.
What's our appetite for spending the money on a gamble?
Well, my appetite is never good at spending money on a gamble.
I
I think
think-
that's my role in.
I think I decided to sort of not approve the money yet. We need more information. That's,
Right.
at least that's my understanding of the conversation.
That's what I'm trying to get at.
I'm also interpreting that if you were confident that the Board of Aldermen was on board,
Yeah.
then you'd be like, yeah, sure, do it, go. So-
That is how I feel.
It's the,
It's not committing to moving yet. We're committing to finding out if it's feasible.
And I would like it in
We
writing.
don't know.
Yeah, but
I'd agree.
that discovery of feasibility will still cost 25.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we can't do that without knowing that they're at least,
Without a
we're not up
commitment
here on
from
Fantasy
the
Island
mayor and
and
the
they're
board.
taking us to the prom.
Tell them if they don't dance with us, we're going to Walmart.
Oh, Bollywood.
So I've got the message clear. I will hit up on tomorrow and see how quickly we can get this.
Absolutely. There's a bunch of advantages. to
We're open
Walmart.
to.
A lot.
Yeah.
Lose a tax base, so.
Well, there's some disadvantages too. But there's some advantages.
okay, so, yeah, next, director's report.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so we know what we're doing, right?
Yep.
Okay, great.
I'm gonna make this quick and very short. I met with Carrie Savage, who is the chair of the Recreation Committee for the Board of Aldermen, and went through the budget with her. Tomorrow at 6 p.m. at City Hall, they will be doing the first review, and I am begging them to cut it to at least between 3% and 3.5%, because they do not want to take a 4.5% increase to Rutland Town or Mendon, both of whom got hit with really high property tax increases. And in previous administrations, the mayor would have done that already. The current mayor chose not to, so I'm begging them to get it down to our target number, which is 3%. I have updated the towns. I know the select board chair very well in Rutland Town and to a certain extent in Mendon. Plus I've told our other two towns. So nobody's gonna be surprised if we show up asking for 3%. But there's like a little dance where as it gets closer to being finalized with the city, I make sure that all of our towns know, so that as they do their budgeting process, nobody shows up and goes, we had no idea that Rutland Library wanted this, except last year in Mendon when their town office was in complete turmoil for causes I do not know. And I sent the document to them in October, and in January, they said, we've never heard from you, or March, they said, we've never heard. So we're working really hard to make sure this year everybody is on board. We do not need folks to show up tomorrow. If you love watching sausage being ground, feel free. It is a public meeting. I'm looking forward to a vigorous conversation with some of my friends on the Board of Aldermen. I enjoy it. I have a save the date, December 4th, 2 p.m. right here. Chris Graff, well-known Vermont journalist, will be doing a talk sponsored by Vermont Humanities. Our last talk in this room with Vermont Humanities was at 7 p.m. and counting the 3 people that Vermont Humanities brought, myself and the speaker, we got to 5. There were no guests.
And it was a
Not
great
single member-
show.
We had not a single member of the public showed up.
What time is it?
It will be 2
What's the
o'clock
speaker?
on December 4th.
It was an author and an artist.
No, that one I put on, we had 14 people show up.
Okay.
The last one from Vermont Humanities was last year and we had 0 people.
Oh, okay.
So I'm save the date, December 4th, 2 p.m. It's on our calendar. As part of the conversation around the building, State Librarian Catherine Del Mayo has agreed to come to Rutland and explain to the citizens of Rutland why this is a lousy building for a library. Her recommendation is we want a library on this site, we knock everything down and start over again. Including this building. She would not save a brick. But she did build a library in San Francisco, so she's got some real bona fides. And so as part of the outreach, we want to take her up on that offer, which she has made more than one time. I mentioned in the email that I'll be doing some website review. If anybody does want to drop in, it's going to be just casual. That'll be at 1 o'clock tomorrow in the small meeting room. I have got some email responses. They've been super helpful. Almost everybody likes the same one I do. But there are 3 options there. Or we can design our own from scratch. And 2 pieces of information. One, just so you don't hear about it randomly, I will be deposed at some point, probably next week, in a civil suit over the firing of the former librarian in Dover, Vermont. That's in my role as the Vermont Library Association Intellectual Freedom Chair. The board there, according to the complaint, the board there did things that you as a board would not dream of doing, like explaining to us exactly how we had to arrange our DVD collection because the board chair there could not find the DVD he wanted or she wanted. I'm not sure which. So my role will just simply be explaining what good library practice is, which is not the way the complaint said it was done. And finally, we do have, if anybody's been looking for other recruits, we hope we have one. And we hope we haven't scared you off. And I reached out. With executive committee's approval, I reached out to a longtime colleague of mine, Russell Littman, who was our IT guy at the Herald. And on January, I think he said 9th, he will be finishing about a 15-year career as a senior IT guy at Vermont Country Store. He is, oddly, Vermont Country Store is too busy between now and January for him to join this board, but he would be delighted to sit down with a member of the board and myself, and that would have us at a full 15-member board. And I would very much look forward to working with Ross. That's all I got. Question?
Who's doing
Thank
the
you for all that
deposition?
you do. You have
My
a lot
pleasure.
on your plate.
Yes, ma'am.
Report didn't make it in the report.
It did. It was there.
Wasn't it?
Yeah.
I thought it was.
It was there.
It was the
He
bottom.
didn't talk about it, but it was in there.
I will
Okay, I can do that.
I will make sure that I send out Amanda's report that I gave her a really bad time about filing.
Yeah.
I didn't see it.
It will be in the follow-up to the report, which will be coming out from my home office this evening. Probably with a small glass of rye.
So what was the best thing that happened in your program in the last year? And what was your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge was like my whole first paragraph is burnout. I'm really struggling right now. I'm really hoping to make some major cuts to my schedule in December. To catch up on some stuff.
Like sleep?
Not sleep, work stuff. There was a backlog in some, there was a situation a few months ago that I told you all about. Still trying to catch up because of that. So that's weighing heavily on me and I don't always have time to do the programming, so. Burnout between here and personal life. I bought my first house, yay. Best thing that happened. And picking had a decent turnout. We had handed out like 219 foam pumpkins for our character contest. There are still some remnants downstairs. If you guys didn't get a chance to look through and vote during the week that we had things up. Entries this year, which was exciting. Some teachers came and took pumpkins and then they're worked on that. Other best thing is I came home today. Came back to of myself, painted by one of my friends. So, sweet and adorable, and I'll put a picture of that. That's it. Randall basically doesn't need to share it anymore. He gave me our.
I feel pretty bad about that. I will send it out with a reminder for the save the date as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry for all the interruptions. Thank you for letting me interrupt. I did look at your attention.
So now you're exiting
Have a good night.
stage.
Going to go home.
Good night, Amanda. Good job. Thank you.
So any other business? Meeting adjourned.
Thank you, everyone.
That's your finger.
Oh, I do.
Yeah.
Okay, come on. 'Cause I work with both.
Back me up, Bill.
Where in New York City are you from?
Take care of our.
From the
Probably screen.
Not
Oh, the desert book,
December.
Woodlawn.
Okay.
And
I'm from Brooklyn.
is
So,
that okay with everybody?
Uh,